husband ignored my calls all day. He came home close to midnight, smiling like nothing happened. Then he told me he'd slept with his female boss and didn't regret it. I said nothing, just finished my dinner quietly. The next morning, when he woke up expecting breakfast and coffee, he got something else entirely. Something that ended everything. Your husband's phone is probably dead, I told myself after the fifth ignored call. That little voice of denial, the one you use to keep the panic from setting in. He's in meetings, I reasoned after the 10th. There's gotta be hellacious traffic on the I-5, I whispered to the empty kitchen after the 15th. By the 17th call at 11:45 p.m., I'd run out of excuses and had started planning his funeral. Not a literal one, of course, just the death of the man I thought he was, the end of the life I believed we were building. When Sean finally stumbled through the door, reeking of expensive perfume and cheap decisions, he didn't even have the decency to apologize for the 17 ignored calls. Instead, he grinned like a frat boy who'd just won a beer pong tournament and started telling me about Michelle, his boss. He told me how he'd spent the entire day enthusiastically exploring her office, her brand new Tesla, and her suite at the Ember Hotel. If you believe that no one, absolutely no one, should have to endure the agony of 17 ignored calls from the person who promised to love them forever, then you need to subscribe to this channel right now. It's a free click for you, but it sends a powerful message that this kind of disrespect is unacceptable. It helps us share these crucial stories and build a community that stands against betrayal. Now let's get back to it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to that morning when I was still blissfully naive, still a firm believer in 17 years of marriage. 6 o'clock a.m. My alarm chirped, the same gentle sound it made every single day. Sean didn't stir. He never did. Not until his own alarm, a blaring, obnoxious thing, went off at 6:30. I slipped out of bed, my feet silent on the hardwood floor, and padded to the kitchen. I started the Colombian dark roast he loved, the whole beans grinding with a familiar whir that used to feel like the sound of home. 2 sugars, never cream. The rich, earthy smell filled our suburban Chicago house, just like it had every morning for the past 12 years, a constant in a life I thought was stable. By 6:45, his breakfast was ready. 3 eggs, scrambled fluffy with sharp Tillamook cheddar because he hated mild cheese. He said it was pointless, like decaf coffee or non-alcoholic beer. Whole wheat toast with just the right amount of Kerrygold butter, spread perfectly to the edges. It's the kind of ridiculous precision you only achieve after years of practice, years of caring about someone's smallest, most insignificant preferences. Morning, beautiful, Sean mumbled when he finally made it downstairs, his hair sticking up on one side in a way that used to be endearing. He kissed my cheek while reaching for his coffee mug, a choreographed move we'd perfected over thousands of mornings. Don't forget it's Tuesday, I reminded him, pointing to the calendar on our stainless steel fridge. First Tuesday of the month. Date night. Our tradition for the last decade. Wouldn't miss it for the world, he said. But his eyes were already glued to his phone, his thumb scrolling endlessly. Michelle's got me in meetings all damn day, but I'll be home by 7, promise. Michelle Whitmore. It had only been 3 months since she'd become his boss, and her name already came up more at our dinner table than mine did. She was brilliant, he'd said. Innovative. Pushing the team to new heights. I'd met her once, at the company picnic that summer. She was the type to wear designer heels on a freshly mowed lawn, typing furiously on her phone while everyone else played volleyball. She complimented my potato salad with a smile that was all teeth and never reached her cold, calculating eyes. She's intense, Sean had admitted that first week, but I'm learning so much. The late nights started gradually, a slow poison. First, it was just Thursdays for team building, then Tuesdays for strategic planning. By the second month, any night could be a Michelle night. He'd come home at 10, 11, sometimes close to midnight, smelling wrong. New air fresheners at the office, he'd explained when I mentioned the cologne change. Michelle had them installed, some productivity study she read. For 17 years, we'd worn the same scents. Him, a woodsy aftershave I bought him every Christmas. Me, a simple vanilla body spray from Target. Suddenly, he smelled like the inside of a Bloomingdale's I'd never shop in. Then came the new password on his phone. I'd reached for it one night to set our alarm, something I'd done hundreds of times before. What's your passcode? Oh, just use yours, he'd said, snatching it from my hand a little too quickly. Company policy. Michelle's implementing new security protocols. I should have known then. God, I should have seen it. But 17 years of trust makes you stupid. It makes you an idiot. After Sean left that morning, I went through my own routine. Shower, sensible librarian clothes, Greek yogurt with granola. I managed our local library branch, 15 employees, thousands of books, and endless community programs. It wasn't glamorous like Michelle's corporate world, but it was fulfilling work that mattered to me. My phone buzzed at lunch. It was Queen, my sister. Coffee tomorrow? I'm near your library at 2. I agreed, not knowing that she was about to drop a truth bomb on me. Queen was a shark, a top partner at a big downtown law firm. She saw divorces all day long, so she probably couldn't help but see the cracks in everyone's marriage, including mine. But when we'd met the week before, she'd been more direct than usual. He missed your birthday dinner, Jane, she'd said, her eyes narrowed. He told you he had a big presentation, but I saw his car parked outside the Ember Hotel bar during my client meeting. Maybe he was meeting clients, I'd offered weakly. She'd just grabbed my hand across the little cafe table. Check your joint accounts. Just check them. I hadn't. Because checking meant doubting, and doubting meant admitting that the foundation of my life was crumbling into dust, and I wasn't ready to face that. That Tuesday, the last normal Tuesday of my life, I left work early. I made 3 stops for ingredients. Sean's mother's lasagna recipe was a sacred text in our house, requiring a specific brand of ricotta, exact meat-to-sauce ratios, and a perfect blend of seasoning. I spent 2 hours layering it just right, making sure the edges would get crispy, just how he liked them. I pulled out the wedding china, the ivory plates with silver edges we'd registered for at Crate Barrel when forever felt like a guarantee. I lit the expensive beeswax candles, not the cheap ones from the grocery store. I put on the green dress from our anniversary, the one Sean always said made my eyes look like emeralds. At noon, I texted him, "Don't forget our night." His response was a single dismissive thumbs-up emoji, for our decade-old tradition. He's busy, I told myself. Michelle probably has him swamped. 7:00 p.m. came and went. The lasagna sat on the counter, perfect and waiting. 7:30. Running late? I texted. 8:00. No response. The lasagna went back into the oven on low. 8:30. I opened a bottle of wine, then poured it back down the drain. The candles kept burning, melting down like my hope. 9:00. Another text. Everything okay? By 10:00, I'd blown out the candles and finally accepted the truth I'd been denying for months. The kitchen smelled like wasted effort and dying traditions. The empty chair across from me might as well have had Michelle's name engraved on it. That's when the real calling started. Not the casual check-ins, but the frantic, worried calls a wife makes when her husband could be in a ditch on the side of the highway or in someone else's bed. Each unanswered ring felt like a tiny, sharp betrayal. By the 17th call, I wasn't worried anymore. I was planning. Not revenge, not yet. Just a complete and total restructuring of my understanding of the last 17 years of my life. The expensive perfume hit me before Sean even fully entered the house. It wasn't his cologne, and it sure as hell wasn't mine. It was something floral and aggressive, the kind of scent worn by women who take whatever and whoever they want. Long day at the office? I asked, my voice miraculously steadier than my trembling hands. He grabbed a beer from the fridge, not even glancing at the cold, congealed lasagna on the counter. You could say that, he smirked. Then came the words that shattered everything. As I sat there, fork in hand, his mother's lasagna growing colder on our wedding china, the plates we'd picked out when we thought we knew what marriage meant. Actually, Jane, since you're up, we should talk, he said, leaning against the counter, casual as a Sunday morning. My spine went rigid. Okay, I managed. He rolled his shoulders back, his whole demeanor shifting from casual to something else. Not shame, not guilt. It was pride, or maybe relief. I slept with Michelle today, he said. The words landed between us like shattered glass, sharp, dangerous, and impossible to take back. I waited for the apology, the explanation, for anything that resembled remorse. Instead, he continued, his voice full of a disgusting, triumphant energy, multiple times actually, in her office after everyone left, then in her car in the parking garage, and then at the Ember Hotel. He paused, looking me right in the eye, and Jane, I don't regret a single second of it. My hand found the fork beside my plate. I took a bite of the cold, pathetic lasagna, chewed slowly, and forced myself to swallow. I tasted nothing. Think about that. He didn't just confess. He boasted. He detailed the destruction of our marriage like it was a list of business accomplishments. If that makes your blood boil, if you think that kind of cruelty deserves a response, then you need to be part of this community. Hit that subscribe button right now. If you don't, you're basically saying it's okay to treat people this way. And if you think it is okay, then go down to the comments and try to defend him. I dare you. His face twisted in confusion. That's it? That's your reaction? I took another bite. The lasagna needs more oregano, I said flatly. I just told you I heard you. I cut him off, the mechanical motion of eating keeping my hands from throwing the plate at his smug face. You had relations with your boss in 3 different locations. Very thorough. Jane, what the hell the? What would you like me to say, Sean? I set down my fork, dabbed my mouth with a napkin, and looked him dead in the eye. Congratulations on your successful networking. Should I update your LinkedIn profile? Sean Carver, now offering intimate consultations with upper management. The beer bottle slammed down on the granite countertop. I just told you I cheated on you, and you're making jokes. No, I said, standing up. You told me you destroyed our marriage for a woman who signs your paychecks. I'm eating dinner. There's a difference. His carefully prepared speech was crumbling. He expected tears, shouting, a dramatic scene he could navigate. He wanted a fight he could spin, maybe even make it partially my fault. But my calm, icy composure? That wasn't in his playbook. You're in shock, he decided, trying to regain control. Jane, we need to process this. We? I laughed, but the sound was sharp and humorless. There is no we anymore, Sean. You just made that very clear. 3 times clear, apparently. This attitude isn't helping anything. His voice rose. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me try again. I stood up, cleared my throat dramatically. Oh, Sean, how could you? Our 17 years meant nothing. Please tell me more about how Michelle's office desk compares to our marriage bed. I'm just dying to know the details. Stop it. No, really. Did she compliment your performance review? Give you 5 stars? Employee of the month? You're being childish, and you're being escorted out of my kitchen, I said, picking up his half-empty beer and pouring it down the sink. Go upstairs, Sean. Pack a bag. Find a hotel. Maybe the Ember has a loyalty program now. His jaw clenched. This is my house, too. Your name might be on the deed, but you just forfeited your welcome. I held up my phone. Unless you'd like me to call Queen right now and get the ball rolling immediately. He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. This wasn't his Jane. His Jane would have cried, begged, asked what she did wrong. His Jane would have made this easy for him. He turned toward the stairs, his footsteps heavy with confusion, not remorse. We'll talk in the morning, he called down, when you've had time to process. Sure, I said, already pulling my laptop from its bag. Sweet dreams. The moment his footsteps faded upstairs, I opened a new spreadsheet. My fingers flew across the keyboard, fueled by 17 years of shared passwords and a sudden, chilling clarity. The document title typed itself, Project Silent Storm. First column, assets, checking account, savings, investment portfolio, both cars, and the house, with its conveniently forgotten detail. The mortgage was in my name only, a relic from Sean's credit card disaster back in year 5. Second column, liabilities. Sean's lingering credit card debt, his student loans, his massive ego. Third column, action items. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. How was date night? I typed back, memorable. Then I opened a new message to my sister Queen. Need the shark, not the lawyer. The shark. 3 dots appeared immediately. That bad? Worse. But I'm about to make it beautiful. My office. 7 a.m. Bring coffee and war paint. I smiled. My first real smile in months. Then I returned to my spreadsheet, adding tabs for documentation, timeline, and my personal favorite, revenge served at optimal temperature. Sean thought his confession would break me. He thought those 3 locations of infidelity would send me spiraling into a pit of despair. But all he'd done was flip a switch I didn't even know existed. The one that transformed 17 years of devotion into cold, calculated, righteous precision. He gave me until morning to process his betrayal. I only needed 6 hours to plan his complete and utter destruction. The laptop screen glowed, 3:00 a.m. 6 hours of methodical planning were complete. My eyes burned with exhaustion, but my mind was a razor-sharp weapon. Sean's snoring drifted down from upstairs, the peaceful sleep of a man who thought a confession was the same thing as a pardon. He had no idea what was coming. I started with the money. Our joint savings account held $47,132. Legally, half was his. Morally, after his midnight performance, I should have taken every last cent. I initiated the transfer to my personal account, the one he didn't even know existed, opened 3 months ago when the strange cologne first appeared, just in case. Transfer complete, 3:17 a.m. Next, the credit cards. He had 3 supplementary cards on my accounts, the ones with the high limits and the cashback rewards. I dialed the 24/7 customer service line and canceled them, one by one, effective immediately. The representative on the other end, probably used to these middle-of-the-night revenge cancellations, didn't even question it. Would you like to remove the authorized user as well, ma'am? Absolutely, I said. At 3:45 a.m., I was downloading our entire text history from the cloud. 3 years of messages. I found the gems from last month, where Sean called Michelle an incompetent daddy's girl who got a pity promotion, and my personal favorite, she makes me miss my old boss who only spoke in sports metaphors. I screenshotted everything, highlighted the most damning parts, and saved them to a secure folder. Sean's own words would be his jury. By 5 a.m., I had one more piece of the plan to put in place. Sean would wake up at 7:30 expecting his usual breakfast. Colombian coffee, 2 sugars, 3 eggs with sharp cheddar, whole wheat toast, lightly buttered. He was going to get the breakfast all right, just not the way he expected. At 6:15, I sent a text to Denzel Caldwell, my trainer from the gym. Denzel was 6'3", built like a Navy SEAL, with a jawline that could cut glass and a wicked sense of humor. He also owed me a favor after I helped him cram for his nutrition certification. Want to earn an easy $200 for eating a delicious breakfast and looking gorgeous? I texted. His response came back in minutes. This sounds like the beginning of either a crime or the best story ever. I'm in. Just breakfast and maybe some light psychological warfare, I typed back. Make it bacon, and I'll be there by 7:15, he replied. At 7:20, Denzel walked in, looking like he'd just stepped out of a magazine, wearing a fitted Henley that did wonderful things for his shoulders. Jane, he said, grinning, you look like you're about to commit a beautiful crime. Just serving breakfast, I said, handing him a mug of coffee. My husband will be down soon. He had a long night informing me about his extracurricular activities with his boss. Denzel's eyebrows shot up. And you want me to eat his breakfast, be charming, and just exist in his space? Precisely. This is already worth way more than $200, he laughed. At 7:45, we heard Sean's footsteps on the stairs. He walked into the kitchen, already checking his phone, completely oblivious. Smells amazing, babe, he said without looking up. Oh, it is, I said sweetly, pouring a glass of orange juice. Denzel thinks so too. Sean's head snapped up. Denzel was sitting at the kitchen table in Sean's chair, already halfway through Sean's perfectly scrambled eggs. Jane, Denzel said cheerfully, not missing a beat. These eggs are incredible. You're absolutely too good for him. Sean's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. A fish gasping for air. What? Who is this? Sean. Meet Denzel. Denzel, this is Sean, my soon-to-be ex-husband who spent yesterday exploring his boss's various office spaces. Denzel whistled low. The one who ignored 17 calls? That's not classy, man. Not classy at all. Sean's face went through a spectacular journey of colors, from pale white to blotchy pink to furious red. What the hell is this? This, I said, scooping a generous portion of hash browns onto Denzel's plate, is consequences with a side of breakfast potatoes. His phone started ringing, Michelle's name flashing on the screen. He declined it. You should probably get that, I said sweetly. She's been calling since 7 o'clock, something about her husband finding some hotel receipts on the credit card statement. Sean went pale. He fumbled for his wallet, pulling out his Amex. I need to. That card was canceled at 3:17 this morning, I interrupted. The blue one was canceled at 3:22, and the emergency visa at 3:26. You'll have to use your personal debit card. The one with what, $73 in it? This is the moment. The exact second a cheater realizes the game is over and they've already lost. This is the payoff. If you live for this kind of justice, you belong here. Subscribing is your way of voting for karma. Every subscription is a cheer for Jane and a middle finger to Sean. Don't just watch, participate, hit subscribe, or go to the comments and tell us why you think he should get away with it. Just then, the doorbell rang. Perfect timing. My sister Queen walked in like she owned the place, dressed in a power suit and carrying an immaculate leather briefcase. Morning, Jane, she said, then turned to Sean, saying his name like it was something she'd scraped off her shoe. Sean, what's she doing here? Sean's voice cracked. Queen set her briefcase on the counter and pulled out a thick folder. My job, she said coolly. Here's your separation agreement. You have 48 hours to respond. I suggest you get a lawyer. Also, Michelle Whitmore is named in the complaint. Turns out her company has a very strict non-fraternization policy. This should be interesting. Sean's phone rang again. It was Michelle. This time he answered, stumbling into the hallway. We could all hear her panicked, screeching voice. George knows. He has the credit card statements, the hotel receipts. My father's calling me. The company is calling. Sean, what did you do? He looked back at us. Me, calmly sipping my coffee. Queen, looking like a professional executioner. Denzel, still enjoying his bacon. And I saw it finally land. This wasn't a dramatic fight he could win. This wasn't tears he could manipulate. This was a calculated, organized, and beautifully executed demolition. His entire world was unraveling in real time. His credit was frozen. His affair was exposed. His own mother, who I'd called at 6 a.m., had already disowned him over voicemail, her sharp, disappointed voice echoing from his phone. Blake Andrew Carver, how could you? That sweet girl makes my lasagna recipe better than I do. He'd lost his wife, his money, his mistress, his mom, and his breakfast, all before 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. The following Monday came faster than I expected. At 7:45 a.m., my phone rang. It was Sean, his voice high and panicked. They won't let me in the building. My key card doesn't work. Security says I need to go to HR immediately. Okay, I said. Okay? That's all you have to say, Jane? They're treating me like a criminal. No, Sean. They're treating you like an employee who violated company policy. There's a difference. I hung up. 15 minutes later, he called again, his voice hollow. They had everything printed out. The emails, the texts. Jane, there was video from the parking garage. I said nothing. My desk is already packed up in boxes. Michelle's office is empty. They said her father came in at 6 a.m. and cleaned it out himself. He's resigning from the board. He tried to spin it, to blame her. She pursued me, Jane. Sean, she pursued you like a cat pursues a mouse for sport. You were number 4. The whole company knows. There was a broken sound on the other end of the line, something between a sob and a laugh. I ended up driving to his office later that day, not for him, but for me, for closure. I walked through the silent, whispering office with my head held high and collected 2 small cardboard boxes, the sum total of his 17-year career. As the elevator doors closed, the CEO himself, a man named James Morrison, apologized to me personally. It happened on my watch, he said, his eyes full of genuine regret. That makes it my responsibility. That Thursday, I got an unexpected call from George Whitmore, Michelle's husband. I have an unconventional request, he said, his voice surprisingly warm. Michelle's birthday is tonight. She made non-refundable reservations months ago at Morello's, her favorite restaurant. I thought perhaps you'd join me for dinner. Call it a celebration of freedom. Morello's, the place Sean could never afford, the place Michelle treated like her personal clubhouse. It was a brilliant move. This wasn't about dinner, it was about being seen. I wore a red dress, not a safe, subtle red, a bold, unapologetic, unforgettable red, the kind of dress that says, I am not broken. The restaurant was packed with faces from Sean's company. As the maitre d' led us to Michelle's usual table right in the center of the room, you could feel every eye on us. Phones came out, snapping pictures. Richard raised his water glass for a toast, his voice carrying through the suddenly quiet room. To wives who know their worth, he said clearly, and to husbands who learn too late what they've lost. Someone in the corner actually applauded. Over dinner, George filled me in. Sean was living on a Murphy bed in Michelle's new one-bedroom apartment in a shabby complex out in the valley. Her father had cut her off completely, freezing her trust fund. Her car had been repossessed that morning. They were fighting constantly, the thrill of the affair having evaporated under the harsh light of reality. He showed me texts from his private investigator. They were broke, miserable, and trapped with each other. It was better than Netflix. 6 months passed, 6 months of peace and rebuilding. I got a promotion at the library, becoming the regional manager for 3 branches. My book club and I started a small wine distribution business on the side called Wives Who Won Wines, born from a joke at a garden party. It was already turning a profit. Then, one rainy Thursday night, my doorbell rang. It was Sean, looking soaked, shabby, and utterly defeated, holding a bouquet of wilted grocery store flowers. "Michelle left me," he said, the rain dripping from his face. "For a pharmaceutical executive. I take the bus now, Jane, the bus. And I realize what I lost, what I threw away." He begged to come inside, pleaded for a second chance. "What I want," I said, my voice calm and steady, "is for you to leave. Please, Jane, I'll do anything. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want." "There is no maybe, Sean. You didn't just cheat. You came home proud of it. You looked me in the eye and bragged about destroying our marriage." I closed the door on his face, on his pathetic, rain-soaked regret, and went to make myself a cup of tea. The best revenge wasn't watching his life fall apart, though I'll admit that was satisfying. The best revenge was becoming someone who would never again wait by the phone, someone who wouldn't spend 2 hours on a lasagna for a man who was having champagne and souffle with someone else. The best revenge was building a life so full and so happy that his absence was a gift. I was finally home, in my house, in my perfectly imperfect, wonderfully quiet life, and I was exactly where I needed to be. Look, you stayed until the very end. You felt the betrayal, you cheered during the revenge, and you celebrated the victory. This story resonated with you for a reason. Don't let that feeling fade away. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell right now. It's the final act of justice for Jane, and for every person who's ever been wronged. If for some insane reason you're still not subscribing, then you owe us an explanation. Go to the comments and tell the entire world why you're choosing to walk away. We'll be waiting.